Hello, 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 and welcome to my first ever personal curriculum video. I am so excited about this, you guys. We will be talking about personal curriculum-esque things that I did last month at the end of this, so stick around if you would like to hear how things worked out. I will be doing a really relaxed version as I don't have a bunch of things set in stone. So the next couple of months, I plan to be just like super chill with my personal curriculum. I do want to create official syllabuses and have more in-depth plans. Originally for November, I ended up putting together a little curriculum index card because I use this for a lot of my tracking. And my original plan, which is not what I'm doing, was to explore the origins of the Gothic novel. And I was going to focus on 3 classics because for me, I like focusing on the academic side for my personal curriculum. I was actually planning on doing a whole series that was going to be getting an Ivy League master's education without spending the money for the official degree. So I was going to have a really official series sometime next year, which I might still do, but it might also be hybrided based off of however this goes once I get a little bit more developed. But I really need to keep things super flexible because life is lifing and I have a pretty ambitious goal, which I'm probably not going to hit everything, and I want to be okay with that.
So as I was saying, I did set up a original curriculum for November. I redid this so that I can use this in a future month. And the idea was to have 3 books that I attempt to complete, some assignments from it, and then some additional supplemental material that I could use. The first book is The Castle of Otranto, which is the first ever Gothic novel. Then The Monk, which is I guess, intense Gothic horror. And then the third one would be The Mysteries of Udolpho, which I have ordered, but for some reason it's taking ages to get to me. So that one is a Gothic terror. So there's a couple of conversations about the difference between full horror and some of the terror books. And so I figured that would be interesting to compare. I also know that I wanted to take some feminist approach to it and look at them through a feminist lens, because aside from these 2 novels, a lot of the Gothic novels that I have are from women at a time where women writing wasn't a big thing. So I did also want to read Caliban and the Witch. So this is something that I was thinking that I could kind of peruse a little bit, maybe not finish, but start working on. And in addition to that, I also felt like going through the Mad Woman in the Attic, which is a bunch of essays by 2 different female writers. And this one I know talks about several different Gothic novels in addition to other things as well. So there's Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, all kinds of stuff in here. So I figured this would be good supplemental reads to do. And then for the assignments, I was hoping to do a comparison research paper, reading notes for each thing that I read, whether it's articles or not. I don't figure out the articles in advance. I just kind of peruse and find them when I find them. And then also a big thing that most of my curriculums, I want to build out my Zettelkasten. So the other assignment is to grab Zettels, probably a lot from this book. So the essays and this one, which I'm not sure if this is just another collection of essays or if this is just a, feature piece on different things. I don't know exactly. I just know it's supposed to be a feminist work. So I wanted to add some Zettels, this is a commonplace book if you don't know. And it's based off of Nicholas Luhmann's analog Zettelkasten. And so I do a combination where in this I do treat it like a traditional Zettelkasten, but I also include some commonplace booky type stuff. And then I also have my quote box, which is more of a traditional commonplace focused thing. So in this case, this is literally themed quotes that I find from the different books that I read. So I'm hoping to do more of this and more of this. This is an expansion on ideas and conversations that could be around quotes, but it's more around concepts, whereas this is just straight up quotes. And so that's something that I want to do for all of my self-learning personal curriculum things, because I can use this to create stuff. But this month
I have something exciting that I'm starting, and that is a writing project. So a lot of the books that I want to read are going to be around that, and only a couple of them I'm actually hoping to complete this month, where the rest of them are all bonus and additional things that I am going to be dabbling in and starting, but not necessarily finishing or focusing on. So the main goal and assignment for me this month is to work on building the outline and structure for the novel, and to creative write a couple of the scenes. So my really easy goal is to try and do one scene each week. I'm keeping it that simple, even though there's part of me that's like, oh, I want to participate in first draft November that they're making in place of NaNoWriMo and do 50,000 words, but I'm still figuring out what my story is going to be. So I don't want to write 50,000 words of something that's just a mess. I've done that previously, and this exercise that I'm doing is to prove to myself that I can write a novel from beginning to end, and I don't want to muddy it up. So I am hoping to reimagine Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So that is the story that I'm basing my story off of. It will probably be very different in the end, but I wanted to utilize this as a sort of structure for this exercise. It's a practice exercise. It may never see the light of day unless it becomes something that I'm really, into, but I really just want to start to finish and have something so that I don't get too into my head and blow it out of proportion. So the main thing I need to do this month is to reread this and take notes. So I have my Supernote digital e-ink paper so that I can take notes, and then I can print them out if I want to, which I probably will, because I struggle having it just there. It's not tangible enough, but whatever. So we'll be doing that. And then I'm also index carding, breaking out all of the scenes. So I did start my reread already. I'm 3 chapters into it, which isn't very far. And I've already got 17 scene cards that I've written out based off of the first 3 chapters. I'm about to start chapter 4. So that is something that I'm going to be doing for this book. I'm also planning on possibly doing the same thing for The Secret Garden, because I hear, I'm not 100% sure, but I hear The Secret Garden is a reimagining of Wuthering Heights. And since I'm trying to do something similar, I think it would be nice to read something that is so different that I think most people don't know that it might be inspired by this book. So I would like to compare and contrast to see if that statement is even true, because it could be wrong. And I would also like to do a little scene breakdown as well to help me get an idea of how the books that I'm hoping to, I guess, reimagine. I don't want to keep saying that, but basically to reimagine how they're structured. So that's the main thing for the month. I do also plan to finish Why I Love Horror, which is a essay anthology written by different horror authors. This one happens to fit with this writing plan that I have, so I'm excited to do it, but it's mainly because Books and Lala is doing this for the Besties book club, so we'll be talking about it this month, but it just happened to fit really well, so yay for that. Because, oh, I don't think I mentioned my goal for my reimagining is to really lean in on the horror elements of Wuthering Heights, make it a strong gothic horror novel, and make it first person, because I felt like this book could have been more eerie and more emotional if we were seeing it from the perspective of the people really in it. I know there's value in having the outsider approach. And the more that I'm like revisiting it, the more I see the value in how it is structured. But I personally would have just enjoyed it more if we were getting it from somebody in it and really seeing and feeling all of the elements that the books have. So those are the main things that I want to do. In addition, there is a essay about Emily Bronte, the author of this, in this essay collection. I'm going to be reading just that essay and pretty much nothing else. So these are the things that I'm like, yes, we'll be reading these one way or another. This one feels weird because I'm only going to read one thing, but I plan on reading it. Everything else is wishy-washy. I don't know. So I'm going to be using this framework. I've already read this. I don't plan on rereading it, but I will be looking at the examples and structures and stuff like that. I am already reading the expansion to this that focuses on the horror side of things. So this already, I've done some of the exercises to help develop my character a little bit more and the focus, and to really make sure the elements that I want in my version are there. So I'll probably be reading a good chunk of this. I don't know if I'll be finishing it, but perhaps that should go in my more like, it's gonna happen pile. And then I have some more reference books that I may or may not pick up and use, but probably won't read the whole thing. So I will probably dabble into this. I believe I've looked at it before, so I'll just be revisiting some of the elements. I didn't read the whole thing when I did before, and I don't think I'll read the whole thing again, but this is just creating your character arc. And then also Story Genius, which is talking about brain science so that it will kind of help with your development, which I think is really nice. So that's that for for things that I will probably use for the writing side. Then I have Stephen King's On Writing, which I really do want to read. I want to read this. I don't know if I'll be able to because I'm going to be focused on so many other things. So this is, it would be nice. I did also have Sylvia Plath's journals, but I don't even think, I think I'm cutting that out because I already have such a long list. Because as you saw in the thumbnail, I have a bunch of other things that I'm hoping to start, but not necessarily finish. So these are different classics that I think will help with the development since I'm rewriting a classic. And I will also, for just general entertainment, be listening to the audiobooks for some regular modern like fantasy, horror, thriller, whatever that's not covered in this. In the future, I'm hoping to set up a new TBR game for that kind of stuff, and then we'll have this sort of thing for more nonfiction classic stuff. There will be overlap because I know already for some of the future themes and topics that I want to explore in personal curriculum, I have a mixture of classics and modern books. But most of the things that I'm really interested in with my personal curriculum is exploring classics, because I feel like there's a lot of value with that in being able to use that to engage with and talk about modern stuff. And it's also really fun to be able to see the parallels between the two. And for me, one of the reasons why I'm really excited about independent study and personal curriculums and stuff like that in an academic world and touching on classics is there's a plethora of conversations that already exist for a lot of classics. And I've been finding myself missing that in a lot of the discussions I've had on modern books and recent releases, because obviously there's just not a lot of people talking about a book that's just come out. And there's definitely not a lot who are really deeply engaging in them in the same way that you get with classics, since a lot of academic classes focus on them. So people are forced to do that for school. And then on top of that, a ton of people do it for personal gain as well. So I'm really interested in that so that I can engage in those conversations, which I'm missing from this space since I typically don't like spoiling books in general. So it's going to be interesting figuring out how I want to approach talking about these in a way where I can go deeper, but that isn't going to spoil things unless people want it. So I might have spoilery conversations dedicated somewhere. I just don't know where yet. I don't know if I've mentioned that at some point I am hoping to set up a Substack to share some of the more like assignment-based things that I want to do for these. But because I'm working on the writing stuff this month, I don't think I'm going to do that yet. But anyway, let's talk about the last chunk of books that I might want to explore and why I picked them. And then also we'll quickly go over what I've been doing previously and how that's been going. Okay, so the book that is possibly the least likely to be read is Paradise Lost. For some reason, I heard somebody talk about some of the, I don't know, darker elements of this, maybe comparing it to either some things or elements in the Bronte sisters books or Wuthering Heights specifically. I'm not sure, but it was kind of brought up, so I pulled it out. I already owned it, so I was like, maybe we'll dabble on this. That might not happen. Something that I way stronger connection would be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This came out the year that I think Emily Bronte was born, the year before, the year before, the year after. Like, she's right on it. And it is said that the monster concept that is explored here, that has come into existence through this, heavily inspired the Bronte sisters monsters in the books that they had created. So like Heathcliff, Mr. I don't know any of their names, but the main male characters in all of their novels have a sort of, I don't know, inspiration from this without that actually being a thing. So I thought that maybe I'd finally get around to reading this because this has been on my TBR for ages, but maybe not. I will probably read some of Emily Bronte's poetry because I believe she does some scenic descriptions of the moors, which is where Wuthering Heights is set, and which I think I might keep the setting the same place even if I change a bunch of other stuff. This might be another one that should probably go into, I will probably read at least some of it. And then the last two, I have no clue, but I think I might at least read the introductions for the other two Bronte sister novels. So Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall and Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. They are said to have some like parallels, even though Wuthering Heights is like, I don't know, more wild, more extremes. There's overlaps that happened with them. And so I'm interested to kind of at least read the backstories between all of them and have a general idea. I also might not read the introductions because they tend to spoil what the stories are about. And at least with Jane Eyre, I know that that's a lot of people's favorite, so I might not want to spoil it, but I'm also finding with classics, it doesn't take away the enjoyment, and sometimes it improves the enjoyment if I actually know what's happening beforehand. So I don't know. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to engage in them. These are just possibilities that I might want to explore for the writing / academic side of my month. Now, talking about the little bit of exploratory stuff I have done leading up to this. October was the first month of me trying my self-learning and personal curriculum sort of thing. I thought a good way to start out would be to take some free online courses. So I ended up starting the Yale's Introduction to Theory of Literature and the Harvard's Masterpieces of World Literature. I ended up getting the Critical Tradition, which is the textbook for the Introduction to Theory of Literature. It's a mouthful. And I ended up reading a couple of the articles based off of the assignments. There are a ton of near hour lectures. I think you're supposed to be like 24 or something like that. And I was trying to do the readings beforehand and watch the videos, take notes, and I was really enjoying it. And I do plan on continuing the class, but I will say, reading these articles, they're super dense, so they ended up taking me longer than I was expecting for them to take. And I also realized the class itself was supposed to be happening a lot quicker than I had the time to be able to do, especially because I was also taking the Harvard class for world literature. And that one was by the Professor Martin Puchner. This is one of the books that he ended up writing, and this talks about some of the stuff we go over in the class. I am currently reading this, so I am making progress. This isn't part of the reading, but it's also helpful. I was doing that. Our first reading for that class was the Epic of Gilgamesh, which I ended up reading the official first version. Technically, I haven't finished this book, but I have finished the Epic of Gilgamesh. And so that was technically a fun time. I did enjoy it. I did like learning about it and talking about it. I ended up talking about it with my family at dinner as I was going through it. And then we got to the next one, which is the Odyssey, which I have been wanting to read so much for a while. I am a big fan of Epic the Musical. And so being introduced to that made me want to reread this, because I know I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey in school. I don't know if it was middle school or high school, but whatever. We read some of it. And at first I thought I read the whole thing, but going through, I do think we only read certain parts, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been so long. I had remembered bits and pieces, but the beginning starts with Telemachus, his son. Like, it's out of order. It's out of order, which I didn't realize. I really like that the Epic the Musical is more in order versus this, but a good chunk of it started with Telemachus, and I was like, I don't remember any of that. Like, nothing. So that was interesting. But the problem is, for the actual assignment, one, they wanted us to read this in a really short period of time, and two, they didn't want us to read all of it, so we were supposed to skip pieces, and I was like, I want to actually read the whole thing. And so that kind of put me on pause with continuing the classes. I also realized that those two classes, with life, with other reading, with other projects, with YouTube, with everything, was just too much for me to be able to handle, which is why this month I'm trying to keep things a lot more flexible and actually see what I'm capable of doing before I set up the syllabus, because this one, it was just too much. And honestly, the main reason was because of how dense a lot of the writing is for the first one, and how many classes I realized. So I realized there was going to be like a ton of assignments and ton of things. And I was like, oh, that's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be when I signed up for it. It's on YouTube, so I can do it at any pace, at any time. So I am going to continue, because I was thoroughly enjoying both of these classes, but I also want to slowly engage in this book. And now that I'm shifting over to other things, I definitely don't have time to finish this. So that's kind of on pause for now. It was nice to experience this. I just really wish I had more time. And that's again why I'm all like, let's do a more flexible, light monthly curriculum instead of trying to set up more official semesters with hard dates and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm trying right now, but it was nice to start and to get an idea and to see how much I enjoyed it. Like, it was so much fun to do, even though life really got in the way and I wasn't able to. Yeah, this was fun. I'm so excited about this. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, anything you would like me to talk about in the future or focus on or to cover or whatever. Let me know. Let me know in the comments down below. If you don't have anything specific to say, include this emoji down below just to let me know that you're into this. I'm really excited to be doing all of this stuff and to share this stuff with you. And I hope that we can talk about this in the future in other ways. And I would love to hear your thoughts and what's going on and all of that. And now I'm rambling. So I filmed this a couple of times. Hopefully that last one was it, because I need to edit this and get this out. I want to try and get it out today so that you guys can tell me all the cool things that you're working on and we can enjoy personal curriculum content together, because I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Also, what are your thoughts between personal curriculum in a more, I don't know, general casual sense, or a more academic personal curriculum? I wonder if there's, like, if it should just be self-study academics or something. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let me know.